are you, bro? Yeah.
Yes.
Yo, Sophia, it's that. Sorry. I can't.
Yeah, take that.
I can say whatever tone I want with you.
She might follow like 3 people.
Move. Why are you sitting this way?
Because that's how I sit.
Alright, so we're gonna cover something kind of difficult, so we're gonna go all the way to the end.
Thanks. That's great.
So now we're gonna talk about how to verify identity. It really require more algebra skill than anything else, and also require this. Okay, this is something that's very useful of what we're gonna do in a second. Okay, so let's review all this identity. This one you should not have problem. I don't see anybody mess up this one. I see sometimes people mess up with this one. Okay, which is bad. But this 3, you should know it by heart. Especially this one. I'm going to write it in the orange here. This one can have something that can change. If you have sine squared plus cosine squared equal to 1, it can also say cosine squared of theta equals 1 minus sine squared theta, right? And the sine squared theta is equal to 1 minus cosine squared theta. And then you say, okay, well, that is a question here. So it turns out it can also factor more, because 1 minus sine squared is different square. You can also change into 1 plus sine theta parenthesis times 1 minus sine squared, 1 minus sine theta. Same as this one. So all those can change in multiple forms, and they are identities. You can use any of those identity to help you. Now, what happened is, verify identity, you trying to prove this is true. So here's a way to think about it. If we think about the height of 2 hands, right? Now, if I have one is stationary and one is here, and I want to make sure they are in the same level, the best way to do it is just adjust one position, which is adjust in this car. I can adjust the right hand down to match the same height as the left hand, right? Or I can adjust this up to match the right hand. But if you do both at the same time, yes, that's gonna, and sometimes you can get it, but sometimes you also miss each other and you have to readjust. So that's a bad way to do verify identity. The good way is just work on one side only. Okay, you stay work on one side, and then you say, okay, now it's matching. So the whole idea is match the left side and right side. But that also means I'm gonna have this thing called LHS. That means left hand side. You like that? You follow me? And the right hand side, that means right hand side. So this is the right hand side of the function, and this is the left hand side of the function. However, one thing you cannot do is you divide something on both sides. You cannot do. You cannot subtract it over to the other side. Okay? So you cannot do any of that. You can do this to this identity, but you cannot do it when you verify something. So you cannot say, oh, I want to subtract both sides by secant x, cotan x. No. That's solving. It's different than verifying. Verifying is you trying to prove the left hand side equal to right hand side, or right hand side equal to left hand side. That's it. Got it? Now here's are all the rules of when you start off. Here's the rules for starting off. Work on one side at a time. That means you only work on one side and try to simplify all the way. Work on complicated side. You don't want to work on the simple side. The simple side is there's nothing you can do. Cosecant of x is equal to 1 over sine of x, but there's not variation you can do. When you start off, convert to sine of x and cosine of x. Convert everything to sine of x, cosine of x, and generally, it does help you on a beginner problem. It doesn't help you with a harder problem. It gives you how to solve very beginning. Now I have two different colors. This is a general way you start off. When you have beginning stage, you are right here. Let me talk again. Work on one side at a time. You don't work on both sides. Work on complicated side, of course, and then convert to sine to cosine. Anything that's not sine and cosine, convert to sine and cosine. Usually help you at beginning stage. Not at the end stage where we got complicated problems and stuff like that. It doesn't have that. And this is gonna be the advanced stuff, which is we also gonna do. But in generally, this should apply this, we should get some of the easier problem out of the way. Okay, so this is the easier problem. The easier problem says secant of x, cotan of x equal to cosecant of x. Now we have two different sides. I just want to work one side at a time. So which side I will want to work at? Left hand side or right hand side? Okay, so what can I change? What can I do with secant of x and cotan of x? Convert it to what? Let's start with the secant x.
1 over cosine theta.
1 over cosine. Good. So then we have 1 over cosine of x. We're going to use x here. And cotan, is that sine or cosine?
No.
Cosine of x, right? Over sine of x, right? So can this cancel out?
Oh, okay, okay.
And then that becomes 1 over sine of x, right?
Dang. Oh, that's
And that's equal to CSC of x equal to CSC of x. So I usually don't write this. I usually write that all the way here. So we just prove left side equal to right side.
cool.
Oh, that's.
Oh my
When do
god.
we apply to this?
Huh?
When do we apply to this? When he asked for it.
Yeah, when I ask for it. Usually that you want to make sure, I mean, you do this more often in higher level math. And in lower level math, usually you don't do this. So this, we are in the upper tier now, so we're gonna use a lot in calculus. We're gonna use a lot in, after this going, we're gonna try to prove one thing to the other thing. So we don't know, sometimes we don't know if left side is equal to right hand side, so we kind of simplify one side and try to match the other side. We use that for higher end.
So that's not like that's not a formula, that's just like, that's like not an equation, that was just an example.
That's just an example. Okay, so you can try this one. It's pretty easy. You can try this one here.
Okay. Cool. She said this is fun. It really is the most exciting thing to do. No offense.
Yeah, what did you think? That's cool.
Oh no, it gets harder.
But it all makes sense.
It does make sense, but you get harder.
Okay.
So don't get too excited yet.
I'm not, I promise.
Just don't let us enjoy anything.
No.
I don't understand.
I do want you to enjoy, but I don't want you to underestimate.
I'm not underestimating.
Because later on the question will be looking like this.
Okay, Missy, fine, it's not cool. You know what? Math sucks.
We didn't
Happy-
ask for the
happy
later.
now.
She said, you know what, math sucks.
You know
Happy.
what? Math sucks. You happy now?
Okay.
Now you still follow the algebra rules, and algebra rule does help you in this case.
I finished.
Okay, you finished. So is this hard?
No.
So cosecant is what?
1 over sine.
1 over sine, right?
I like that I can move it out.
And the tangent is not in terms sine over cosine, so we're gonna say sine x over
And then
cosine x.
cancel out the sine.
And then let's cancel out sine, so it'll be 1 over cosine of x is equal to sec of x, and that's equal to sec of x is equal to sec of x. Okay, so that speaks to the left side equal to the right side. Now, this question gets more complicated. So remember, anything here is in play. Now also, I'm going to give you the first rule for the advanced rule. Here is the first rule. When you see two fractions, you combine fraction. In order to combine fraction, you need a common denominator. Common denominator. Okay? So that is the first rule. So this is not advanced. This is like, what's the middle? Intermediate stage, okay? So intermediate stage strategy is here. So it has combined fraction, it has factoring, greatest common factor, or difference of a square, or trinomial, use a box, or a splitting, when you have a plus b over c equal to a over c plus b over c. So this is the most important material, actually. If you want to copy down or you want to write it down before the test, this is the stuff to write it down. This is the intermediate step, which is 80% of the question is based on here. Okay, only 20, maybe 10 or 15% of the question based on here. But this is an intermediate step. We're going to talk about all the intermediate work, which is the 80% of the test here. Now, a lot of the time, I like what students do is just write down like random things and just get secant of x equal to secant of x. That doesn't cut it, just so you know. I will give you a 0. I see that all the time. I see that all the time. Just write down like random stuff. It's just like secant x equal to secant x.
I would have never thought of doing that until you said that.
No. I'm just saying I don't buy that.
What does it say?
So combined fraction. Okay.
No, like,
So you gotta make sure you have a common denominator. Common denominator. So common denominator. Factoring GCF. What does GCF stand for? Greatest common factor. And the difference of a square, it looks like this. A squared minus b squared equal to a plus b, a minus b. Trinomial, we can use a box to factor it. And we also have a plus b over c equal to a over c plus b over c, which is the beginning of the year. This is 3rd grade. This literally is 3rd grade material.
Oh, it is, yeah.
Because you think about it, right? 3 over 5, right? Is equal to what? 2 over 5 plus 1 over 5, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's 3 plus 1, so the same thing. Oh, 2 plus 1. Right.
See, it's not 3rd grade.
So it's 3rd grade mathematics. But 3rd grade mathematics will come to help me. So let's go to this question. Does anybody feel confident that they can do this without me teaching them?
No.
You can try it.
I want you to.
What are we trying to find?
We're trying to make sure left side equal to right side.
Multiply by both sides.
No, you cannot multiply both sides. You cannot do adjustment on both sides. Make sure you can only do one side. So that's what I will do. I just leave this side alone. I just work on simplifying this part, and eventually you're gonna get to secant of x.
But
No, you cannot do it. Sorry. That's how you verify something. Okay? So you only work on the left hand side. You do not work on the right hand side in this case because this is a complicated side.
can you do it?
I want to give people like head start. Now everything I'm gonna say everything here you can use. Okay, everything here you can use, but I gotta find out which thing to use. That's the hard part. So it's like a puzzle. You have to figure it out.
Yeah, I'm not the smart person at this table.
Anybody got it?
I haven't even read the question though.
I don't understand at all.
You get stuck.
I don't even know where to start.
How about by finding what
No,
they
you
are?
cannot do that. That's a rule. The rule says you only can work on one side. You cannot touch both sides at the time.
Yo, you know this on high, right? You know this
Let me
live.
start off.
No.
And if you cannot get it, just cross that off because you're gonna.
I don't want to.
Amelia can probably pull it off.
I could pull it off.
I need to go make a stupid rules.
Oh, you're almost there. You're making stupid
Amelia.
Did he kill something?
Multiply.
You're almost there.
You passed by the camera.
Almost
You're
there.
famous.
You didn't look at the board
But I
clearly.
missed things.
You're
It wasn't
almost there.
that
You
much.
break
It was
a.
like
You
1
kill a
second.
cat.
I think I did.
Guys, you cannot do this. You cannot do this.
Oh,
You
I
cannot
got
say 2 plus 3 over 2. Those two can kill each other, level 3. No, that's not allowed.
That'd be
You
fun.
kill a puppy when you do this, David.
David.
Hey, you're gonna expose me on a live stream like that?
Yeah.
Excuse me, I'm not gonna go to the camera.
It doesn't work. It's supposed to be 5/2.
You know what? I can post it.
Okay. So I have
Well,
to
David's
add
pretty
it.
close though, because if you pay attention to detail, you will find out the answer is right in front of them.
Okay. Okay, I'll figure this out. Don't tell me. He's gonna tell it.
David almost got it.
I believe you, David. Maybe you won't mess up so much, but that makes up something. Then I don't wanna go back.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm probably just really stupid.
That statement just get rid of probably.
Oh, I am really stupid. There, is that better?
Alright, I'm gonna go over it now. You guys take it long enough. Sin of x, right? I like sin of x. I don't want to change sin of x. I don't like tan of x because they're not in terms of sin of x and cosine of x. This is a beginning stage, so it's gonna be sin of x over cosine of x. And this is a cosine of x, which is fine. And then I don't do anything to that side. So I don't even write it at the end. I just write something for that. So that becomes sine squared of x over cosine of x plus cosine of x. But why did I say you had to combine fraction? Because those two are individual terms. You can combine them because this is one term. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply something called 1. Why multiply by 1? Because that 1 can change into anything over anything. So what I do is I'm going to take this, sine of x over cosine of x, and a plus cosine of x, and I'm going to make sure they have the same denominator. So I multiply this by what? Not just cosine of x, it's cosine of x over cosine of x. This is essentially 1, right? And that's equal to secant of x. Now, you guys just need to pay attention to the board. Why? Because sine square of x plus cosine square of x. Now we have same denominator, so you can put in one denominator, right?
Got that far.
Which is 1 over
I can't see.
What's just
There you go. Sine square of x plus cosine square of x is equal to what?
because if you multiply it.
It's equal to 1. That's the Pythagorean identity. Over there, can you see over there? Right next to the orange writing?
Barely.
No. Where?
Yeah, you're kind of
Yeah,
covering
right there.
it.
When I yeah, right there.
Like right next to the orange.
So that's going to be secant of x plus.
Oh, I see it.
He's still covering me.
So anything over there is applying. Anything on the board is useful. So I write it down for you, but you have to have those memorized. Okay, so now this one here, you can try it. It's the same thing. And you can try this one on the same thing as well if you feel like you're an advanced student that you want to give a shot at this. Don't look down at my class. When you look down, it's over. Head down, grade down.
Yeah, imagine.
Head down, grade down. That's not my core, that's Miss Nolan's core. And that was pretty cool. I just told them. So this is a question I want you to try. You should get the same thing. It's a very similar question, just a different path. But we're gonna go to the next one. We're gonna go to more challenging ones.
Are you seriously still eating?
Can I get some?
He's not gonna give you some.
My,
Especially not to you.
what even is it?
It's
Oh,
seaweed.
yeah, I want to eat that anyways.
I like that he's so chill about it. He's like, yeah, I know you won't eat it. Oh, well, you weren't gonna.
What's it taste like?
Oh, is that the kelp chips thing?
I haven't saved that since.
Seaweed wrapper?
Come on, get to work.
Seaweed
Okay, question over there.
I'm serious. That's what you make sushi with, right?
How do you
I understand that's
change this?
Sine squared x plus cosine squared x equals 1. You get it? Then that whole thing becomes 1 over cosine x, and then
Whoa.
secant is 1 over cosine.
I'm confused.
Or like the cosine x cotangent.
Oh, no.
I'm still confused.
You look sad. You look sad eating this.
Eats his face.
Oh my god, I have. I got it. Oh, I can smell it.
Good for you.
It smells disgusting. It was good.
It's good for your health. That's why Asians live so long, right?
That's why they look so young at first.
You know why? You know why it's on
Who cares?
YouTube for all time now, David.
No offense, but not a lot of people listen to this thing.
True.
They skip through it. They don't really watch that part.
Wait,
No one watches the part where there's no teacher. I'm just saying.
Yeah, everyone's here today anyway, so.
Ridiculous.
Mister, did you attend this?
Yeah, no one's gonna listen to this.
Alright, so everybody done?
No!
The second one, the third one, you should be finishing all of them.
I had the second one.
I'm trying to figure out.
Come on now, Ben. This is why I'm the king still, right? Yeah.
You tell them.
He said, can you get off my desk?
Show them who's boss.
Right. Dominant here.
Yes, I need
Mister, wait till next finish. Wait till what you just started. We. That's light work, man. Come on.
You know how sine squared theta that's cosine squared theta. Wait, let me finish it. Hold on.
2 plus 3 is equal to 5. That's 3 plus 2 is equal to what?
Yeah, okay.
Oh.
Wait, let me finish it. Let me finish that one.
Yeah, do the second one. Don't do the third one.
Yeah, don't do that one.
Okay, so let's talk about strategy. Which kind of strategy I'm using here? Same thing, combined fraction, right? Cosine of x times what? Cosine of x over sine of x, and that's the plus sine of x is equal to CSC of x. So now you can have cosine square of x over sine of x plus sine of x is equal to CSC of x. So now you want to make sure they have a same denominator, so I'm going to multiply this by cosine of x. Does that make sense? Oh, sorry, sine of x. Sorry. Sine of x and sine of x, right? So that's equal to CSC of x. So now I will have cosine square of x over sine of x plus sine square of x over sine of x. Now is equal to CSC of x. So now I'm going to have sine of x and then cosine square of x plus sine square of x. Yes, 2 plus 3 is equal to 3 plus 2. Third grade mathematics.
I can't even see that, so thanks.
1 over sine of x.
But I don't know if it's right.
Now that's equal to CSC of x. Okay, now this one's a different strategy. What is it?
I don't know if that's right.
The way you write it is wrong.
Zero wrong.
But is it right?
But the way you write it is wrong because nobody can understand that. I would have marked it wrong. So.
So you're wrong. So you're not smart.
So now this one here, we talk about the first strategy. This strategy is very, very, very important. So this is the first strategy. Because this question fits the strategy, but not all question fits the strategy, right? Now let's talk about auto strategy. So now if you look at this, you say, well, everything is already in sine and cosine, so the basic strategy doesn't really work. I'm saying I can't convert sine to cosine. here, this everything is already in terms of sine and cosine. Now, which side's more complicated? That's what we'll look at this way.
Left.
Left. Okay, now, what would you suggest here?
Something for the sun.
I think.
Yes. Yes.
You make the cosine, wait, never mind, wait.
So like, look at this. If you have this x minus xy squared, can I rewrite this in a different way that involved one of the strategy? Yes.
Can we move cosine x next? No, wait a minute.
We could separate.
Not to the right side.
Now just look at this. X minus xy squared. Can I? There's another way to write same thing.
X, y squared plus x. I mean, negative.
Yes, Jeremy.
Use parentheses.
Use parentheses. Good. So what I do if I use parentheses?
You do.
What can I take it out?
The squared.
The x, right?
Oh.
So if I take out x, what do I have left?
1.
X times what equal to x? 1. X times what equal to xy squared? Right? So what will be here?
Cosine of x.
But the one is
Y minus sine of 1. Yeah, 1 minus sine of y squared of x.
Does that make sense?
Am I awake?
Okay, but I went about it like.
Your about it is right, but the way right is wrong. So what is this?
That's the thingy there.
That's cosine.
That's the one in the orange, right?
Cosine squared.
So this is also Pythagorean identity. Cosine of x.
Oh, and then you multiply them together, and you add, see, it's cosine 3, yeah?
Oh! Yo, you're so smart. Not you.
Me?
I was talking about Mr. Yang.
So factoring, okay, factoring is this. This is simple strategy. So this we talked about a second strategy. Factoring. Look, factoring. And factoring has all different kinds. Difference of a square, a box. So those are the strategy. Those are the strategy you write it in front of the test. Before the test starts, says those are strategy I can use and implement, and I need to know this by heart. Okay, next one. What kind of strategy I'll be using over there? All the strategy I already give it to you.
Oh, for that one?
H?
What does it say?
What is that?
This is the one.
1 plus.
Oh.
Oh.
Have you ever learned like separation between
Yeah.
like you gotta put your finger
It looks like a here, here.
1.
No, I do have a student who write like
Plus.
super well.
Is it me?
Roll.
Oh, I get that one. Is it me? Because I write really nice.
It's Amelia.
That's one.
No. She write.
The simple side is the left
She
side.
write right better
The
than
right
me.
side.
But Amelia knows who she is at.
Whatever that question is.
Amelia, who write better than you?
I don't know. She said everyone.
From the previous frame.
Mister, we have like less than a minute.
Fong?
You do?
Fong can write.
Yeah, it's 06 right now.
But I think I write nice.
There's a couple people like
I
that.
don't want to
Amelia
report.
can write very well.
We're playing stuff I haven't practiced.
Okay, so which strategy I'll be using here?
Okay,
Put the right side.
Yeah, you do the
You
right side.
separate them.
You separate them. Good.
1 over cosine plus sine over cosine.
1 over cosine of x plus sine of x over cosine of x. Do you see that splitting? I call it splitting.
Wait, I did a different way.
Yep. You can use it this way too. Then this way is easier. Plus what? Boom.
Wait, I did a different way.
Oh my god.
It's splitting. Okay, so you guys can think about this
I like
one.
how it looks hard.
You guys can think about this one. This one's a kind of challenge. I don't have enough time to do it, but this one's a little bit more challenging. And those are the questions that I can see if you are a strong student. Can you upload it? Yeah.
How do you do it? I just did secant and tangent. I did tangent and sine over cosine and secant over cosine. So then I just added